The islands of the Galapagos lie 1,000 kilometers out in the Pacific Ocean from the coast of Ecuador. They have various unofficial names. The Enchanted Isles, because the old-time navigators had great difficulty in finding them when perverse winds and currents took their ships off course. Another name is Darwin's Islands, because here the great Victorian naturalist largely formulated his theories on evolution. Like all islands, they're surrounded by seas which support a wealth of marine creatures. Even though the islands lie on the equator, there's very little coral, for the water is too cold. Instead, the seabed consists of jumbled volcanic lava. The water, cold by tropical standards, is rich in nutrients. The currents that bring this food are complex and can't always be relied on to deliver it. But when they flow normally, the waters are a seething mass of fish, though conditions can vary, even from island to island. Amberjacks are hunters of the inshore waters. This strange-looking creature is a bump-headed parrotfish. A shoal of golden eagle rays. A stingray. And a giant manta ray. Like the manta ray, the whale shark, which is the largest fish in the ocean, is harmless, feeding on swarms of plankton. This one is over 10 meters long. Several other species of sharks are found here too. Hammerheads are almost as numerous as the shoals of fish they feed on. Fish are only some of the underwater inhabitants. Green turtles are endangered in many of the world's oceans, but here they still abound. This is the only place in the world where penguins live on the equator. This is the only place, too, where large marine lizards swim beneath the surface of the sea. Pacific bottlenose dolphins ride on the pressure wave from the bow of a passing boat. Even larger cetaceans are common here. Sperm whales have been heavily hunted in many other parts of the world. Like many other Galapagos creatures, the Galapagos sea lion is a separate subspecies. The diversity and wealth of marine life in the Galapagos is caused by marine currents. Driven by southeast trade winds, the cold Peril current sweeps up the coast of South America, causing rich upwellings from the seabed. Off Peru, it's diverted towards the Galapagos, where it joins the west-flowing south equatorial current. These currents not only produce rich feeding, they lower the water temperature by several crucial degrees. The rough lava shores of the main islands are the home of a rather intimidating but harmless reptile, the marine iguana. The only marine lizard in the world, it's thought to have descended together with the Galapagos land iguana, from a common ancestor that reached the islands hundreds of thousands of years ago from mainland South America. Now it's perfectly adapted to life on the shoreline. The blunt snout allows it to graze seaweed growing on the rocks, while its powerful legs are ideal for climbing rough, steep surfaces. Darwin referred to these lizards as imps of darkness from their devilish appearance. The dragon-like crest may serve to intimidate rival iguanas. The seashore is also the home of another of the island's own endemic species, the Galapagos sea lion. The original sea lion colonists probably came from California or Mexico's Sea of Cortez, far to the north. All sea lions are playful, but the Galapagos subspecies seems particularly so. Like most of the wildlife of the Enchanted Isles, they're extremely confiding, both on shore and beneath the surface. The Galapagos fur seals came from the south, lured thousands of years ago by the cold Peril current. In the early part of this century, they were nearly hunted out of existence for their thick underfur. Their recovery began in the 1930s. Today, there's again a thriving population. Sea lions and fur seals are often found swimming together in mixed groups. Long strands of kelp provide ideal playthings. After swimming, a period of relaxation is often enjoyed afloat, using upraised flippers both as sails and rudders. The sea lions and fur seals are permanent residents of the islands, whereas green turtles only visit Galapagos waters to mate and to lay their eggs. Green turtles are endangered due to exploitation of both adults and their eggs on tropical beaches everywhere. But in the Galapagos, they're still relatively common, and individuals don't have any difficulty finding partners to mate with. Not all courtship is as serene as this. During the mating season, the adult sea lion bulls, called beachmasters, continually battle for dominance of territories and females. No beachmaster manages to keep control of his territory for longer than a fortnight. The wear and tear is too great, as challenges are continually being met. The cows seem to be unconcerned by the intense rivalry around them. Mating will take place again about a month after the pups are born. This mother has produced twins, a rare event. The Galapagos mockingbirds are quick to feed on the birth fluids of newborn sea lion pups. These are Espanola mockingbirds, an even more than usually inquisitive subspecies. The beachmaster is challenged by a younger bull. The beachmaster has weight and experience on his side and is still comparatively fresh. Later on, when he's exhausted, the young bull will have a better chance of taking over his territory. Peace has returned to the sea lion beach on the Galapagos island of Hispaniola. Where there are sea lions, there are always flies, and a yellow warbler exploits the situation. A crowd of mockingbirds flock to feed on the placenta of a newborn sea lion. The mother takes her pup into the water for the first time. She's very cautious and keeps it in the shallows. Sharks are constantly on the lookout for unguarded pups and swim very close inshore to snatch them. Galapagos sharks are extremely bold in pursuit of prey, which largely comprises fish and sea lions. Here, about 20 reef sharks have cornered a shoal of needlefish in a small inlet. A cold sea on the equator, full of nutrients brought by cold currents and rich upwellings. Of all the marine animals that profit from these currents, the Galapagos sea lion is always most in evidence, with its extreme elegance and agility underwater. The rich marine life of the Galapagos is the result of cold water currents, and the same cold, rich waters have a strong influence on the wildlife of the island shores, too. Practically the entire world population of Galapagos flightless cormorants lives around the narrow Bolivar Channel between the islands of Isabella and Fernandina. The strait provides the cold, shallow, food-rich waters and sheltered landing places which the cormorants need. This strange bird wasn't discovered until 1896. The cormorant's wings no longer serve the purpose of flight. The cormorant exchanged flight for underwater efficiency long before there were any introduced land predators in the Galapagos. Courtship usually begins in the water. The female, the smaller of the pair, first dives to escape the male's attentions. A pair may sometimes keep up this ritual for over an hour. As the female gradually accepts the male, both birds start to incline their heads in a gesture called snake necking. Eventually, as the male becomes less aggressive, they swim along together, snake necking side by side. Strong surf doesn't deter them in the slightest. Eventually, the male leads the way ashore to continue the circling dance close to a nesting site. The pair may display together at 3 or 4 possible nesting places. Circling on shore sometimes leads to a longer and more complicated dance routine in the water. This time, the female makes no attempt to escape her suitor. The pair will now begin to show the signs of a well-cemented partnership. The cormorants rarely leave their nesting grounds, even outside the breeding season, as their flightlessness limits their movements. The small population fluctuates periodically, and the birds are at some risk from land predators introduced to the islands. Despite this, the flightless cormorant seems to be capable of maintaining safe numbers. Some beaches are unsuitable for cormorants, like this one on the northwest and exposed side of Santiago Island. But powerful surf doesn't bother the marine iguanas, whose pink breeding colors match the warm glow of the octopus nearby. The iguanas are grazing between the tides. They're no danger to the octopus, quietly expelling water from its siphon. After his 5-week visit to the islands in 1835, Charles Darwin wrote that he believed the marine iguanas ate weed on the seabed. Later naturalists contested this, claiming their food was limited to seaweed exposed by the tide. In fact, the iguanas do both. However, they aren't, as Darwin thought, restricted to one sort of marine algae. They eat several species. Their teeth form a very efficient serrated rasp for gnawing weed off the lava rocks. How the Sally Lightfoot crab got its name is a mystery. One legend states a Jamaican dancer gave her name to these red shore crabs. They fall easy victim to underwater predators, so avoid submerging whenever possible. Like the marine iguanas, they abound on practically every island in the group. The small black lizard is a young marine iguana. The Sally Lightfoot crab's main enemies on the shoreline are night and lava herons. As the tide flows and the rock pools fill, the marine iguanas start to feed underwater. Adult iguanas have been observed grazing as much as 800 meters offshore. The smaller ones stay closer to the tide line. They swim using lateral movements of the body and flattened tail, while their legs are held close to the sides. Their strong claws help the lizards to haul out on lava rocks in the running surf. Though they're able to drink seawater, they must expel surplus salt. They do so by ejecting a fine spray from the nostrils. The lava heron will take crabs, but it much prefers small fish, like these young mullet. At low tide, pools in the lava rocks are busy with stranded shoals. The heron knows exactly where and when to set about fishing. Almost every strike of its dagger-like beak results in a successful catch. But the heron won't be able to fish so easily when the tide comes in. It will wait instead for the next low tide and then return to its favorite pools in the lava rocks. On some of the Galapagos Islands, there are sandy beaches between the stretches of black lava shoreline. In the early part of the year, what appear to be tank tracks sometimes cover them. The tracks lead to and from the sea. They're made by egg-laying green turtles. Most females lay their eggs at night, but this one is still busy at sunrise. The Galapagos represent one of the few places in the world where the green turtle can lay her eggs safe from man. Domestic pigs, introduced by settlers, are still a serious menace. On some beaches, they dig up almost every nest. A lava lizard, another Galapagos species, excavates a nest close to where the turtle has just laid. It's a female in breeding colors. She won't harm the turtle eggs, but the turtles themselves inadvertently dig up each other's nests when space is limited. At last, the exhausted female reaches the sea. Some females return to dig another nest and lay another batch of 80 or more eggs in the same season. On a sandy beach, which the turtles don't use, the young sea lions are already boisterous and playful. When not chasing each other, they find a variety of playthings. That's a pencil-spined sea urchin. A favorite sea lion pastime is pulling marine iguanas' tails. There seems to be nothing aggressive about it. Iguanas with missing tail tips are rarely encountered, despite the sea lion's sharp teeth. The iguana finally escapes, apparently none the worse for the experience. Birds come in for a good deal of sea lion teasing too. Even birds as big as brown pelicans. Play has an important function in speeding up reactions. Alertness is an important quality for a young sea lion in Galapagos waters. When the beaches are crowded with young, the sharks come in, looking for an unguarded pup. This shark, swimming in shallow water, is quite big enough to seize a young sea lion or take a bite out of an adult. A pair of young bulls decide things have gone far enough. There are now at least 3 sharks in the shallows. Any sea lions which do challenge the sharks are taking a considerable risk. This adult car's rear flippers were bitten off in a shark attack. About 12 weeks after the eggs were laid on the sandy beach, the young turtles are ready to hatch. Usually, the young emerge under cover of darkness. When a batch reach the surface in daylight, they expose themselves to all kinds of danger. The sleeping sea lions are no threat, but to a hatchling turtle, they represent a mountain range blocking its route to the sea. By the time the first baby turtles reach the tide's edge, predators have spotted them. But the next turtle hatchling makes it. The mockingbirds are quick to exploit any opportunity. To a newly hatched turtle, their long beaks are as lethal as a pickaxe. Galapagos hawks prey on the baby turtles too. But out of every hatching, a few will reach the breakers, there to take their chance with the shoals of predatory fish. Because the sea temperature is appreciably lower than anywhere else on the equator, the marine life of the Galapagos is quite unlike that of any other tropical island group. Not only are many species different, but the behavior of familiar species is quite altered too. For these cold currents on the equator have created a rich marine life unique to the Galapagos Islands.